everyone. I'm back with another Human Design Transit report, and we're going to talk today about what's happening in February 2025 with an emphasis on the first half of February and kind of what's happening in the middle of the month. Now, let me just say that I just released a series of videos about what happened at the end of January because there was so much that has happened at the end of January. And so what we're going to talk about now is what are the gates that the planets are in now for the month of February? Because a whole bunch of, virtually all of them changed gates at the end of January. So instead of talking about the change, now we're going to talk about the gates that they're actually in and what this means for you and how you can maximize these energies and leverage them to create your life the way that you want to and avoid the pitfalls, because there's always pitfalls that are involved, right? So you want to be able to maximize the benefit and try to avoid any of the pitfalls. And so that's what these transit reports are all about. I know this is a tumultuous time for many. It's a challenging time. There's a lot of things going on in the outer world that can throw us off track and create fear and all of that. And I'm not diminishing any of that. I do believe that when things get kind of crazy in the human world, what I do is I'm like, what's going on with the stars? Because the human world is the human world and human beings can be human beings. And we're going through so much transition right now. We're in a huge transitional phase. And we're going to be in it for the next couple of years. And so it's going to change character to a degree, right? We're going to have different changes that are going to come. We have to figure out how to navigate. That's all true. But given all of that, how do we create more stability for ourselves? How do we create a sense that we have agency in our lives, right? Because when the outer world gets too loud, we can start to feel like we don't have agency. We can start to fall into victim consciousness. We can start to feel like we're being pushed around by outside sources, right? And we don't want that because we actually do have sovereignty. And here, moving into the Aquarian age, we're going to have more and more opportunity to grow our personal sovereignty and also to grow communities that support our personal sovereignty and to find like-minded people that we get to grow the new earth with. So I just want to say that even though there might be a lot of loud things that are going on in the outer world, and I'm not saying don't take action in the outer world. If there is an action to take that makes sense to you, by all means, do take actions. But also source what is being sent to us in terms of spiritual information and spiritual guidance that is coming to us from the planets. Because the neutrino stream is the energy that is coming down into the planet, right? And then comes down onto the human design mandala. And that's how we analyze it. So let's go ahead and dive in. In case you didn't get a chance to watch my videos from the end of January, I just want to show you this one image that shows all the different planets that changed gates at the end of January. Not only did they change in a month, but they changed literally within a few days of each other. And so you can take a snapshot of this if you want so that you can have this for a reference for you. But now here we are in February and pretty much all of those changes have happened, but we're at the beginning of them, right? So a lot of these planets are new in their gates. And for some of the planets that are there for a long time, they're there for years. Some of them are there for a matter of days. So mostly we're going to be focusing on what's going on with the outer planets and what is happening with the quality of energy that they're lighting up. But before we move on to the outer planets, let's just take a look at what's going on with the sun and the earth this month. Here are all of the different gates that are being lit up by the sun and the earth. And you can take a screenshot of this image if you'd like to, so that you can have that as a reference for you going through the course of the month. And then this image shows the body graph and all of the different gates that are being lit up on the body graph, because it's really great to see it like on the body graph. And you can see here that we're having a lot happening in the emotional solar plexus. So this time of year, every year, the sun in the starts to move in through these gates in the emotional solar plexus. So this is an annual event. This is not a new event. But it is something for us to pay attention to each year, because it means that February is generally a pretty emotional month, because we've got a lot of different gates on the emotional solar plexus that are being lit up. And one of the things to remember with emotional energy in human design is you always want to make sure to give yourself time to make the right decisions for you. You don't want to, jump into things emotionally if you can avoid it, especially if you're emotionally defined. Because a lot of people who are emotionally defined have a history of regret around decisions they've made emotionally. So what we want to be able to do, we want to feel our emotions. It's not about suppressing our emotions, but it's not about allowing our emotions to be the thing that is leading us. You always want to go back to your human design authority. And generally speaking, that's either your sacral, right? 70% of the population have sacral authority, whether you're emotionally defined, whether you're a manifesting generator, whatever it is, you still have sacral authority. So you want to be working with your sacral authority. And for pretty much everybody else, a good way for you to make decisions is by talking it out. That's what I call it, talking to a high quality listener. Manifestors are the only ones who kind of can initiate if they want to, but I've talked to manifestors who also say, yeah, they really benefit by being able to talk things out with a high quality listener at times as well. So just remember, if you have big decisions that are coming up this month, you want to be able to make sure you don't do it emotionally. So you want to talk it through with people and or use your sacral authority. And I'll say, for me, like, even though I have sacral authority, I still like to talk things through with people. So just know that those are two really great strategies for you to use, and to not allow yourself to be swept away either by too much enthusiasm or to be diminished and suppressed by too much melancholy, so that you can get a clear sense of what's right for you. Let's also acknowledge that we are in the time of Aquarius. Not only are we moving into the age of Aquarius, which Pluto moving into Aquarius is an ignition point for that, and also the precession of the equinoxes is moving into the age of Aquarius. But right here, through February, the kind of late February, we're also in Aquarian time. The sun is in Aquarius. And so we've just got so much Aquarian energy everywhere around, right? It's just a lot of Aquarian energy, which also means a lot of Uranian energy, because Uranus rules Aquarius. And so Uranus is the great awakener, tends to do it kind of suddenly at times. You can have sudden change. We can have things that break down or blow up or things like that. But it doesn't have to be violent necessarily, but it can be disruptive. Can be violent, but it doesn't have to be. So for you to be thinking about what are the ways that you're going to be leaning in more to growing that personal sovereignty, like we were just talking about, and also growing your relationship to others in terms of community and all of us aligning with cosmic consciousness, because these are keynotes, particularly for Pluto in the age of Aquarius, but for Aquarius in general. And I want to just show you this slide about all of the outer planets changing sign in 2025. I mean, Pluto changed sign back at the end of November, but we're going to have all of the other planets that are changing sign. So this is one of the things that the astrologers are really just saying, wow, never really seen anything quite like this before. It's been thousands of years since we've seen so many out of the outer planets changing sign at the same time. So again, you can take a screenshot of this picture if you want to. We're going to be following this along regarding from a human design point of view, but remember that human design is partly based in astrology, so they're definitely kind of sister sciences. And we want to be aware of what's happening astrologically as well, because it's kind of a larger context for what's happening with the human design mandala. So let's go ahead and just start with Mars. Now, Mars has a big journey that Mars is on right now. And I have talked about this over the last few months. And of course, the astrologers have a lot to say about this, because Mars has been in a process with Pluto. They've been opposite each other. Mars just was square the sun So Mars is in his own journey in terms of the astrology. But from a human design point of view, Mars just moved into the gate 53 and it's going to be there for a little while. It's going to be there until the middle of March, which is unusual for Mars to be somewhere for so long. Mars is is an inner planet, tends to move much more quickly. So this is an unusual long time that Mars is going to be in this gate 53. So the gate 53 is in the sensing circuit. So it's creative energy, it's right-brained, it's experiential, and it's embodied. So it's not logical, it's not rational. And it's about starting things. It's about the energy to begin, right? And I've been talking about how we have so much beginning energy, right? So this is another call to begin. And Mars, is known as the god of war, right? I mean, traditionally the Greeks kind of co-opted Mars and made him into and especially the Romans, made him into the god of war. But Mars can also be the spiritual warrior in his more awakened state or his more elevated state. And Mars rules Aries, and I'm an Aries sun. So I've had a lot of dancing with Mars through the course of my life. And Mars, of course, is kind of like our divine masculine energy as well. And we're in a place where we want our masculine energy to be evolving out of kind of dysfunctional, coercive masculinity that we saw in its heyday in patriarchy. And when I say patriarchy, I'm talking about a system of oppression. I'm not talking about men, okay? Because patriarchy was hard on the vast majority of men too. It was harder on women, but it was hard on men too. So we're evolving out of patriarchy, even though we see people who are trying to nail down patriarchy, that it's going to stay here and get big again, right? I don't believe that that's going to happen. So we want to be evolving our Mars energy so that it's more emanating this divine masculine energy, this spiritual warrior energy, that protect and provide energy can be here for us, but in a really elevated state, right? One that is not violent by nature at all, but is willing, if necessary, to use physical force in order to protect, whether that's other people or whether that's landscapes or whether it's animals or whatever it is. And so, but we want it to elevate out of this idea that might makes right, that power over is the way to go, and into something which is really more about we are using our power in order to have equal power with each other, to rotate power, to to share power with each other, and so on. And so Mars is potentially in this evolutionary journey, which you can help participate in by really seeing that Mars can become the spiritual warrior. And Mars is in Cancer right now. He's retrograde in Cancer. And Cancer, of course, is a nurturing energy. It's a feminine energy. And so Mars is getting the opportunity to begin again in the midst of this compassionate, nurturing, feminine energy that can awaken his innate spiritual warrior nature, right? So you have the opportunity here to say my agency, right? Because Mars is all about agency, which is a core part of our sovereignty, right? So Mars is all about agency. And so when you're beginning, when you're starting now and for the next couple of months, what energy are you starting things with? Because Mars will give you life force to begin, but it's up to you what quality of energy is going to be a part of that agency that you have, right? Are you doing it from a shared power, power within, rotating power, which is an aspect of New Earth, or are you doing it from a power over, might makes right way of doing things? And you might be surprised that how deeply that kind of might makes right is embedded in us. And we have the opportunity now to be evolving it. And so don't think it's a mistake if this comes up in your environment, because it's coming up to be healed. And this is one of the things we have to remember when we see the people who are coming out with might makes right. It's coming out to be healed. So do not allow it to scare you. And do not allow yourself to get sucked into believing that you have to do the same thing back. And instead, use your agency to grow yourself on the inner landscape so that you are so strong on the inside, that you can handle what's going on the outside, and that then you can explore what is your right role and responsibility in this new earth as we move forward. And now Saturn has moved into the gate 22, which is the gate of surrender. So the gate 22 is in the knowing circuit. So it's highly intuitive. It's individual circuitry. So it's here to be different. It's here to bring change. It does not fit in. And Saturn is lighting up this gate, which is, it's also known as openness in traditional human design. And it's kind of this energy for, okay, I am going to really be open to whatever is coming to me from super consciousness through this knowing circuit, right? And the mate of the 22 is the 12 that comes right off the throat here. So the 22 is coming up this way, the 12 comes off this way, and the 12 is the channel. And so this 12 is channeling in, bringing in energy and spiritual information from super consciousness, right? And the 22 is saying, I am willing to receive this. I'm willing to be open to it. I'm willing to surrender whatever my ego thinks needs to happen. Right? Whatever my fear parts believe needs to happen, I'm willing to surrender that and to be uplifted and to be shown what are my best next steps. Now, Saturn here, right, is the great teacher, and Saturn is all about creating personal discipline. And so I really read this as an opportunity to move more into spiritual practice. We're getting a lot of messages about spiritual practice. So Saturn is one of them, right? Saturn is like, are you practicing surrendering to your inner guidance? Are you practicing surrendering to what's going on inside of you, paying attention to what is your inner being wants to share with you, what it is that your body, as it's attuned to your own higher purpose, like what is it telling you, right? None of this is logical or rational. You can't think your way into it. Okay. So this is asking you to grow other parts of yourself, to awaken your intuition, and then to be leaning into them and then be practicing, right? Saturn loves it when we practice. And so he's like, how can you practice more and more surrender during this time? And then we have Uranus, who's in Taurus right now in the gate 23, the gate of transmission. So the gate 23 is right here. It's in the knowing circuit. It's on the throat center. And so again, it's individual circuitry. It's here to be different. It's here to bring change. Uranus has just been moving through different intuitive gates over the last few years, actually. And they're all in the knowing circuit, right? And so here he is again, just lighting up, saying, are you willing to receive the transmissions that are coming to you through super consciousness? Are you open to this? Are you receiving? Are you allowing? I want to just mention here that in his forecast for 2025, Lee Harris was talking about how 2025 is about allowing. It's about our ability to allow our spiritual upgrades to occur. And Uranus may be bringing them into us in some kind of disruptive way. That is possible because Uranus kind of is that way. Uranus is all about awakening. And so Uranus is saying, are we paying attention to, again, just like we had with Saturn in that 22, Uranus again is, are we paying attention? Are we receiving the transmission, right? Are we allowing it in? Are we surrendering to, if you will, what it is that these outer planets want to be telling us and what the spiritual information is that is here to help elevate us so that we can make it through the tumultuous time that we're in, but not only that, but so that we can create this new earth that we're so wanting right now. So Uranus just slowed down and stationed and is now going direct. So this just happened. And so Uranus is gets stronger. All the planets get stronger, especially the outer planets, because they move slowly, right? So when they come into station, right, they're there, and it's like their intensity gets bigger and bigger. So right now, Uranus is like, hey, are you friggin' paying attention to your intuition or not? Right? It's kind of what it's yelling at us. Are we paying attention? Now, You may say, yeah, I mean, I'd like to, but I'm not quite sure what my intuition is. Well, I understand that. That's one of the reasons I teach intuition so much in all of the different, programs that I have is that we're always looking at how do we open up our creativity and our intuitive capacities, because human design shows that these are 70% of the ways that we know is through intuition and through creativity. So Uranus is here lighting this up for you. And really, I mean, one of the things that you can do, I love this. I mean, sometimes people think it's just such a simple exercise. And it is, but it's still profound, which is automatic writing. Like if you're not sure about your intuition, you've never tried doing this kind of thing before, basically what you want to do is just be in your journal, and you can even be talking to Uranus and say, Uranus, what is it that you want me to get today? What is it you're trying to transmit to me today? Please help me understand. So you can talk to any of these celestial bodies, but you can also talk to your own inner being. You can say, okay, wise one within, what do I need to know today? What guidance do you have for me? How am I doing? Do you have any, recommendations for me? Right. So you can just start with simple things and just be writing in your journal and just open up, surrender the part of you that wants to stay in control, open up and receive the transmission. Then we have some particular activity that's happening in the middle of the month. And really the big story from my point of view of February is that Neptune is going to move into the gate 25. Neptune's been in the gate 36, which is about experience, and is in the sensing circuit, and is emotional energy. And so Neptune's been there for a long time, coming back and forth and retrograding and so on, but has now moved into the gate 25. The gate 25 is a beautiful gate. It is the gate of spirit, the gate of love of spirit. It's on the G center. And it's in the centering circuit. So the centering circuit only has 4 gates. It's individual circuitry, so it's here to be different. It's here to bring change. Notice a theme that's going on here with individual circuitry. So Neptune's going to move in on February 10th. And one of the things that's interesting about the gate 25, which was similar to the gate 60, is that the gate 25 actually straddles 2 astrological signs. So Neptune is still in Pisces until May, but has moved into the gate 25. And then in May, Neptune's going to move into Aries, and I'll still be in the gate 25. So it's a kind of interesting juxtaposition of astrology and human design. But nevertheless, moved into the gate 25, which, like I said, is on the G center. And it's this beautiful energy about love of spirit. And so Neptune, which is already a highly spiritual energy, right? Is about our unconscious, is about our dreams, is watery, likes to dissolve things, right? So Neptune is here and, it's highlighting our spiritual connection. Again, like I said, we've got this theme going on about, are we connecting to the information that can come to us from spirit? Are we connecting to that? Are we open to that? So Neptune is coming at this from a different direction, which is saying, get in your heart and love your spirit aspect. Right? We are divine source energy living in this incredible temple of this body that we have, right? And are we paying attention to that? Right? Or are we outsourcing our identity and outsourcing, the way that we know what we know, or are we sourcing inside? So again, Neptune is going to be here saying, get in your heart, folks. Get in your heart, dissolve anything that is not working for you regarding your spiritual connection, whether that has to do with ways you were brought up religiously that might get in the way of that, right? Or if you were brought up in an atheist household where it was like, no belief in any of that. Right? Or whether you just are really embedded in material reality and don't really believe so much, in spirit. Like a lot of us have that. After all, Newtonian physics really taught us to pay attention to the material world. And Newtonian physics is extraordinarily good at telling us about the material world, but it sucks when it comes to the spiritual world, right? That's why we've been so blessed by having quantum mechanics come in, because it's helping us to understand the energetic realm in a really different way, and helping us at least opening up the possibility that we have a spiritual connection. So this will be a really great time for you to just be looking like, what are some of my blocks that I have, to opening up my spiritual connection? You also might want to If you don't already have a copy of my book, Feminine Sovereignty, 8 Pillars for Regenerating Ourselves and Our World, pillar number 1 is about our relationship with spirit and about co-creating with spirit. There's an assessment at the end that helps you to be able to identify some of the things that might be in the way. And then there's different exercises and possibilities inside of that pillar for you where you can start to unpack what maybe your personal history is around your relationship to spirit, so that you can start opening up to that and cultivating that again. And, again, it doesn't matter what kind of religious background you might have, because spirit is not religious, right? It's more mystical. It's more about a direct connection with divine source energy. And so, unless you really feel like, oh gosh, that's taboo, in my world, I really highly encourage you to take this opportunity and to know that in this case, Neptune is really going to be helping us to open up our intuition and open up our love, because the G center is the center for love and lovability, identity, and direction. So Neptune is going to help you to dissolve all of the ways that the blocks that you have around spirit are also inhibiting your identity and your lovability and your direction in life. This is just such an incredibly huge opportunity that all of us have. Then on the 12th, we got 2 things happening. One is that Jupiter, who's in Gemini, is going to move into the gate 35. So the gate 35 is the gate of experience, and it is in the sensing circuit. The gate 35 comes off the throat over here, and it connects to the gate 36. We've had a lot of activity in the gate 36. And now the North Node has moved into the gate 36. So we're going to have a complete channel here again, which we had for quite a while during the course of the fall. So here we've got Jupiter is in that 35, is hooking up with the North Node in the 36. So we've had this whole channel. And so we're going to have a motor to the throat. And so we basically have a manifestor chart that's happening here. So we're all going to get to be manifestors. Or manifesting generators if we're already generators. So Jupiter in the 35 is going to expand, right? Because Jupiter is the god of expansion. And so Jupiter in human design is known as our blessings. And we receive the blessings of Jupiter when we learn the lessons of Saturn. If we just remember that Saturn's in the 22 and Saturn's saying, hey, are you growing your spiritual practice? Are you surrendering to the inner guidance that can come to you from superconsciousness? So that's what Saturn's saying, right? And when you are able to really be working with that, you can receive the blessings of Jupiter in the gate 35. And so one thing about the 35, yes, it's experience, but it also helps you give voice to your emotional energy. Because when this whole channel is here, right, we're getting energy from the emotional solar plexus, which is a motor, and it's coming directly to the throat. So it helps us give voice to our emotions. So we want to be paying attention to how are we expressing our emotions? How are we able to communicate with other people around how we're feeling? Right. So this can be a really great time for you to be checking in with people. Maybe you haven't said what you needed to say, whether that was something that, was bothering you that you never spoke up about, or whether it's something you want to apologize for, whatever it might be. Right. This will be a great time while that 35, 36 is lit up and Jupiter is expanding your ability to express yourself. And it's also known as experience because it's a very experiential. It's a really, like I said, the sensing circuit is very embodied, right? And it's a very about experience. It wants to engage with life through doing, right? Through engagement, not by just thinking about it. So when we think of, humans doing, a lot of times what we're thinking about is too much thinking, right? This is not that. It's more about let's experience things. Let's try things out. Let's see how it goes, right? So Jupiter might be expanding your adventuresome spirit for a little bit while it's in that 35. But remember, you also want to connect it to your spiritual practice and what you're surrendering to in terms of what superconsciousness is wanting to tell you. Now, on the same day that Jupiter is going to move into gate 35, we have a full moon in Leo that's happening in gate 4. So Leo, Leo, full moon, Leo, right? My dad was a Leo. My mom was an Aries. My dad was a Leo. No wonder I'm like this. So Leo, the lion, also sovereign. Energy of sovereignty, right? King of the forest. And so here we're going to have an opportunity during a full moon. So the full moon always brings things into light, right? Things that might have been in the shadow. And it's interesting because this full moon is in the gate 4. And so the 4 is at the beginning of the logic circuit, and it's known as answers in traditional human design and possibilities in quantum human design. So the traditional human design names at the beginning of the logic circuit are kind of negative. It's like doubt and answers. It's like, I doubt it. Give me answers. Show me the data. Show me the research, right? It has that kind of energy. I think of that as power over, actually. It's either disempowered or it's power over energy. Whereas it's awakened is curiosity, which I love that, right? All the best science begins with curiosity, right? And then it wants to explore possibilities. So here we've got the Earth and the moon lighting up the gate 4 and is saying, what is possible? Right? And Leo's like, what is possible for me, the lion, the sovereign? Right? So this is a great time for you to be leaning into what could be possible for you if you were to let go of your preconceptions about things. If you were to let go the conditioning that would tell you, oh, no, dear, that's not for you. Or, oh, no, you're not smart enough for that. You're not pretty enough for that. You're not educated enough for that. Whatever it is, that stuff, right? That mishigas that you know about, right? If you were able to put all that aside, what would become possible, right? What would become possible? And this Leo full moon is going to be shining on that. And it's really kind of going to be beeping it at you, right? And saying, are you settling? Right? Are you living a life full of tolerations and just saying, okay, I'll just tolerate this. I don't like it, but I'll just tolerate it, right? Is that what you're doing? Or are you stepping into the horizon of possibilities that is always right there, right beyond the view that your conditioning allows you to see? It's right there, but you have to break out of that conditioning in order to be able to see it. And this Leo full moon is going to help you do that. Now, I'm going to circle back around later in the month and talk a little bit more about this full moon, but I wanted to give you a heads up here so that you can be like really kind of gestating, if you will, what could become possible for you if you were to let go of the things that tell you that you can't have, right? You can't have, or you can't do, or you can't see in the world things that you really long for, that you really desire. And then to be like, okay, what am I willing to allow in? What am I allowing in new possibilities? Am I letting that happen or not? And just remember, full moons reverberate. And yeah, it happens at a moment, it happens. We get really 2-3 days of full moons, and you'll see the full moon more on Tuesday, the 11th, because it's early in the morning, Pacific time. So it'll be that night, but we usually get 2 or 3 nights that really feel like that full moon energy. But what becomes possible for you when you lean into this full moon energy? And then I have to nod to Pluto and Aquarius in the gate 41. Now, I've been talking about this quite a bit, so I won't go into this in a lot of detail. You can go and look at some of the earlier videos that I have about Pluto and Aquarius and Pluto moving into the gate 41. But I just want to say here, again, we've got this theme, right? The theme of starting over, beginning again, taking back your power, using your imagination, surrendering to higher consciousness, and remembering that what is our imagination, but one of the interfaces that we have with our inner being, with our divine self, right, is our imagination, because it's the place where we move out of the left brain dominance, right? It's how we move out of our egoic state and we tap into a larger visionary part of us, right? And we start to co-create with that larger visionary part of us. And it's in our imagination, for example, that your spirit can send you symbols, feelings, images, colors. For the Human Design New Year that happened back on the 22nd, I led on a live stream on YouTube, I led a process where we did a Kundalini Yoga Kriya, a short one, but potent. And then I took people on a short meditation and invited them to be able to receive a symbol from their own inner being or their divine self about going forward into the Human Design New Year. It's still up on my YouTube channel. You can go find it and do it if you want to. But the reason I'm bringing it up is that the images that people received in that meditation completely blew me away. One person had an antelope. Another person had an infinity sign that was going. Other people had spirals. Other people had stars. It was very cosmic, by and large. And so that's an example of how when you open up, when you surrender your egoic mind and you are willing to be open to what's coming, right? What spirit wants to tell you, it often speaks to you in symbols. And that is what you can receive through your imagination. So do something beautiful for your imagination and just allow yourself to know that you're a deeply creative person and that you can't not be creative. You're by nature, you're creative. It's just that so many of us were taught that we weren't. And that left brain dominance really makes it hard to see or feel things that are outside of what the left brain is designed to understand. The left brain is really good at material reality. Right? It's good at counting things and quantifying things and categorizing things and analyzing things and strategizing. It's good for all those. And we need all of that. But we also want our intuitive and our creative faculties available to us. So if following the transits is interesting to you and you want to have more training about it, you want to be able to have dialogue about it, you want me to be able to coach you on it so that you are clear about what it is that you're doing, we have just opened up the doors for our spring semester for Evolve Yourself Through the Human Design Transits, which is going to focus on training to understand how the transits work and how you can access them for yourself and how you can work with your own human design chart in relation to the transits. And then also the Incarnation Cross, because your Incarnation Cross is your four most important gates. And they're your conscious sun, your unconscious sun, your conscious sun, your conscious earth, your unconscious sun, and your unconscious earth in your chart. And these are a snapshot of the transits of when you were born in 88 days prior. And so we're going to really dive into each one of those gates over the course of 4 months, and so that you get to go deeper with them and not just kind of skim over the definition of them, which happens a lot to people, right? Those 4 gates are also the gene keys of the activation sequence, which is the first sequence you do when you study the gene keys. So I'm not a certified gene keys teacher, but I have been studying them, and I think it's important that we can kind of bring those together because I think they're going to well illuminate them. And I also really like what Richard Rudd says about contemplation, which is one of the things that I've been saying for a long time with human design, which is don't skim along the surface with all the information. Pick some things and go deeper with them. So that's what we're going to do with the Incarnation Cross. And you're also going to receive this training for the transits. And all of this is going to happen inside of the Sovereign Sisterhood, which is our ongoing group coaching program, which is how we are growing our personal sovereignty and how we are stepping into ourselves as ambassadors of the future in the Aquarian age. And so we explore topics that are really helping to guide us and helping to support us as we are navigating this time of so much transition and having a very supportive and positive place where we can share what's going on for us, where we can share what we're learning, we can ask questions, we can also share our challenges and receive support for that. So if that's of interest to you, the link to check it out will be down below in the description. And we're just open through the weekend. So come and check it out if it's something that you have been interested in, if you want to work more with me, and if you want to be with some like-minded people who are using human design to grow ourselves, to become more sovereign, to create the sanctity of community, and to align with cosmic consciousness, the keynotes of the Aquarian age. All right, my dears, many blessings, much love. Bye for now.